Greetings, this is Pillar Nexus Ancient Gladiator with more Pillar Loves tabletop games, bringing you Anima Shadow of Omega. This is obviously not the box that's supposed to come in. The original is like smaller, but I need more room for the cards for this game and the expansion. So, in this game, you'll have characters with combat, speed, gender, and skills. Skills are needed to play certain advantage cards. Some characters have abilities that require using them. It's called spinning. Others have just written abilities. You will also have access to advantage cards, which lets you do things like join an organization, which will give you an advantage. Just do things to mess with the game or help you out with combat and other effects. To use cards that show the skill symbol, there's no fingernails today. There's trickery, arcane or magic, and key. You have to have a character that has a matching symbol, and you have to spin them to play that card. Then over the course of the game, players will have the opportunity to visit various areas. To even get into an area in the first place, you'll have to get past the preliminary encounters. So, as long as the level of the encounter is less than or equal to the level of the area, it will resolve. If the card is of a higher level, then it is just cleared without effect. And then your team or party gets into the area. Multiple people can be in the same location and then proceed to interact with each other. If there's a trade icon, they can trade advantage cards, characters. You'll notice that one of the card types is called an organization, and sometimes they have rivals. If teams of rival organizations are in the same area, they have to fight each other. But after that, players can explore their location by rolling one die against the table on the left. If you're lucky, nothing happens. Otherwise, you'll have to deal with encounters. And again, going back, there we go. If the encounter is higher than the level, then it's just cleared. And then, once you do so, you get a reward. There's, for example, for this city, we've got draw an advantage, or recruit, or do the Citadel mission. So there are missions you will have to accomplish over the course of the game to improve your team. Completing one mission lets you make an attempt at the final mission. And completing the final mission is how you win the game. Recruiting characters. If you recruit a character on your turn, say we got this guy, we got her. So you cannot recruit in the same location 2 turns in a row. So you'd have to go somewhere else or pick a different reward next time. One of the things you can also do during the game is, instead of moving to an area, you can just leave it for a minute and rest, which will give you a +2 to your combat and speed on the next turn. Instead of going to an area that's in play, you can also seek new horizons. Only one player can do it each turn. It can only be done once per round. So if someone else does it, you're kind of screwed. And you'll have to encounter the preliminary to get into there. And then the number of areas in play is limited to the number of players times 2. A player can protect an area from being discarded by discarding an advantage card. If all the areas are protected, then an extra area is added, period. And then actual combat itself. So what you'll do is you'll combine the combat value of all members in your party and add a d6. So there's a 7 to 7. If I remember correctly, ties are in favor of, let's see, the depends. Yeah, in case of a tie, the party is facing a creature, the party is the winner. Ties between 2 players, combat is a draw. If the party loses a combat by a difference of 5 or more points, one of the characters in the party dies. If you ever lose the last character in your party, any organization cards you had are discarded, and you'll just draw 2 characters and pick one to start your new party with. You can have a maximum of 4 characters. One of the things the expansions add is the Arcane Characters, which are extraordinarily powerful. I think you have to have at least 3 members in your party already in order to have them join you when you recruit. Yeah. There's a special rule they cannot be expelled during the reset phase, while they can be killed normally. Yeah, during the reset phase, you strain everything that's spun, and you can discard cards that you don't want, advantages or characters. But keep in mind that you want to discard stuff you really don't need if you're planning to draw cards, because if you're already at your max limit of 5, is it 5 or 6? And you draw, yeah, maximum. When you're at 5, you can't draw more than that and then discard. No, you just don't get to draw at all. And then they also add a new system for the final missions called Crisis, where after 6 or 8 or 10 turns, if no one's completed the final mission by then, the final mission gets even harder. So there's some stuff that doesn't come with this game that I added. The game comes with dice, with these dice, each one per set. Beyond Good and Evil came with Marvelized tokens, but it only came with 4. I like to be able to have the 5. But if I get if I can find Twilight of the Gods, then these will be phased out for the other ones. Possibly. More stuff is being able to keep track of your total combat and speed ability. Speed is critical to initiative. You want to have a high speed to go first, because that means you can secure your New Horizons as you need to. Otherwise, if the area you needed ever gets discarded, but you have a chance to seek New Horizons, you can go through the discard pile at least. Yeah. So there's keeping track of your combined stuff with those dice. There's keeping track of where you've already recruited for previous rewards. There's keeping track of if you rested. And then there's turn order. So let's say this player went first, that player was going second, this party is going third. And then as people do their stuff, they can bow out of the order. So, Anima, Shadow Omega, and Beyond Good and Evil, and by extension, Twilight of the Gods. Why do I like these games? Just because it's a fun little adventure, you know. It's a fantasy adventure that maybe takes itself a little bit seriously at times. Although Beyond Good and Evil has some pictures that are not safe for YouTube. So there's that. But and then there's one of the final missions. It's like, okay, once a player has achieved the once a player actually achieves the first part of the mission, there's no way to stop them from There's no way to stop them from doing the second half in a way that lets the player who stops them take that, as far as I've seen, and try to do it themselves. But it's an interesting game. I've got the role playing books for it. I think just the player's book and like Gaia book 1 and Game Master's toolkit, the screen. I'd like to do something with that someday. And then there's Anima Tactics, which has miniatures, which I wish I'd held on to my set. I had like the Dark Faction starter. It might be easy to find stuff for that, but it's a game. it's a bit random, but I think some people might get some enjoyment out of it. The art is pretty nice too. Oh yeah, there's the other thing is the original version of Shadow Omega has the black border, which I actually like better, but for the expansions they went with white border. They did a revised version that does the white border for this, which made sleeving these cards and something harder to see through important. It's possible to combine characters and all that stuff. Adding in Beyond Good and Evil, you'll just use the new missions instead of the old ones. You can still use the old areas, the old advantages, the old cards, I believe. Yeah. So the missions are not compatible. Yeah. It's possible to play with the old mission cards from Shadow by not using the mission area and event cards from Beyond Good and Evil. But why would you want to? I don't know. It's an experiment, probably. But yeah, there it is on the Shadow Omega. If you can find a copy, it might be worth trying for a few times. Might be worth holding on to because the art is nice. But hey, it is what it is. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.